everyone. Hope everybody is having a wonderful day so far. I will actually go ahead and show you my screen here in just a minute. And give me just 1 second. There we go. So today, just to kind of give you a little bit of an overview, I am recording this, by the way. There is a recorded version on the Iowa page of this similar meeting that we conducted last week, if you do need an additional reference there. What we're going to be covering today is taking care of kind of those tier changes, what you need to do in your system, those type of options on how to make those updates in Therap, and also kind of touch a little bit on how you can change over, or kind of my recommendations on how to switching over your well, in this case, United, out of last information for any of your AmeriHealth individuals. If you do have any questions or anything as we're going along with this, please go ahead and put them in the question box over here to the right. Jeff Mao is also on the line and will be helping answering questions. And then I also have an additional billing specialist as well on the call as well that will also be helping navigate those questions too. So please make sure you ask those questions. We want to make sure you get the answers that you're needing. And this is not the be-all, end-all. If after we've reviewed this and gone over it, if you still feel like you need that one-on-one to go over your setup in your system, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. If you don't already, I will go ahead and I will put my email contact information into the chat box before this call is ended. That being said, again, welcome everybody. Thanks for your time this afternoon. I know we're all busy people and y'all got lots on your plates. So that being said, I'm going to first go ahead and address the actual tier changes in the system. And it looks to me, kind of from going over the recent materials, that these tier changes are specifically geared toward your daily unit services, anything that you can bill 1 unit per day on. Those are the ones that are really applying to the tier changes. Any of your 15-minute increments, your time incremented services, I have not seen, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, of course, I have not seen the tier levels to be applied to the time incremented services at this juncture. I don't know if that's going to be a rollout later on down the road or not, but at this time, the changes that I have seen and the rates and the levels and stuff that I've seen are specifically geared towards those daily unit services. All right. Whew. The mouthful. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and start over here on the admin side. Now, you do have a couple of different ways to adopt these into your system. I'm going to show you both ways, and I'm going to also tell you my recommendations as well for you to kind of take care of these. Now, since your actual codes are changing too, I do recommend you going ahead and putting in a new service description code right here. But the thing is, you can do this is where you can do this one of 2 ways, and I'll try to lay this out as nice and cleanly as possible. So you have your description code, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up a code. And these may not be specifically the ones you're looking at right now, but the same premise is going to apply. So for instance, if I took a daily unit, all right, and so maybe this was a tier 1. Okay, I would have my tier 1, I would have my code, I would have my unit rate for the tier 1, and then I would have the applicable correlating procedure modifiers here for my tier 1. Okay, now you can do that, and then you can have a service code for each tier level, meaning that you'd have one for tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, so forth and so on, with the applicable rate and the applicable modifier. Okay. And then you would apply that onto the service authorization for that individual that has that applicable SIS lever that falls into that tier level when you get those. Now, the other way And I'll show you how both of these will apply on your service authorizations. Your other way is to have one overall code for each of the different levels of services. So you take your one code, and on the unit rate, you would put in 0, and you would not have any modifiers here. Okay. And then what you would do is you would then individualize that information onto the service authorization per their actual tier level, meaning that when I come over here to my service authorization, I'm going to just go ahead and open one up. All right, so let's see if I have, yeah, so these are daily units right here. So if I were to come in here, and I'm going to bring my screen over. If I were to come in here and I just utilize that one code, I would select that one code. So that one in this case was the H2016. I would select that one code, but then I would define my rate for this individual for that tier level. And then I would apply that applicable modifier for that tier level. And I would do that per individual. Okay, that's one way. Okay. The other way, of course, is to add the different tier level to the individual, and that's going to populate the rate and the modifier that you have in your service description code. Now, this is completely up to you on which one you choose to utilize. Okay. So here, if I were to do the different tier levels, so right here, here is a tier 1. That's going to populate the applicable rate. I know this isn't a daily. The applicable rate and the applicable modifiers that go with that tier 1 level. Okay, so it kind of leaves out a little bit more, less maintenance on your service authorization. Okay, the point, the perk of doing it where you just have the one code and then you individualize it per person is when you go to generate your billing data, when you go to generate your claims and you have your drop down of your services, you only have the one code. Okay, so it kind of depends on where you want that little bit of extra step in. Do you want to sit there and maintain those service authorizations, making sure that they have the correct tier, they have the correct rate in them. If you do get a rate increase for any one of those tiers, you would have to do those individually on the service authorizations if you went with the one overall code. If you went with the tier level code, you would have to do this section by each tier level. But again, they're both pros and cons. If you do it by the tier level on the admin side, and you had a rate increase, you would do the enable rate history one time for that tier level, and it would apply to everyone. I can't really tell you which method's going to work best for y'all. It just depends on where the work level comes into play. I am a big fan of breaking it down by tier level, just because I don't want to have my hands as much into the service authorizations, having to maintain those to that extent. But that's just a preference. The additional option of just doing the one overall service code is if you have worked with me and you have day services. Is, for instance, right here, you would be able just to select the one overall daily code, okay? If you do break it down by tier level, you would have to have 4 different attendance types, saying that here's the tier level, here is the description for level 1, so forth and so on, just because you're tying it directly to that daily unit. And if everybody looks at in their Therap and looks at their admin side, they're going to see a similar setup that's tied directly to that one overall procedure code right now. Okay. Now, the kicker to whichever method you're choosing, and this is something I recommend regardless, is that I would recommend doing new service authorizations, period. Regardless of which method you're choosing, you really don't want to be generating any billing data off of that old code. You just don't want it hanging out there. To keep it nice and clean, kind of moving forward, I would do a new service authorization. And where this is going to come in handy as well is if you have any kind of AmeriHealth individuals that you need to transition over to United Healthcare, you're going to have to do a new service authorization for them anyway. So if I come in here, and we're just going to open one up, because this is where I'm going to change my funding source. So on an existing service authorization, I'm going to have my begin date and end date. So I'm actually going to go into an existing one here, so you have a little bit better of a visual. Well, that was just rude. All right, so here's my service authorization search, and I'm just going to pull one up just to kind of clarify a little bit more what I'm talking about. So right here, this one actually ends on 12/31/2017. All right. What I would actually do to keep this nice and clean with your information, so for your existing service authorizations, I would come in here and I would do your 11/30 and do your approve updates. That way from 11/30 and forward, and back, sorry, everything will still be tied to this applicable service description code if you need to do anything else with that information. And then you would create a new service authorization because you're going to be able to see your remaining units. So you're not having to recalculate anything or anything like that. But I would, even if you are not transitioning with the MCOs, to keep these nice and clean, I really do strongly recommend you creating new service authorizations because that's going to help you out quite a bit, I believe, in the long run, just to give you a nice clean cut. Now, I can't tell you for sure to do it that way. It's still going to be your system. These are definitely my recommendations to help you hopefully have a little bit of a smoother transition. Over here on the admin tab, one thing I did want to introduce y'all to that some of you may not be aware of is that we do have an export-import feature for service authorizations. So you can export your existing ones out. And these are all on your account. You all have this access as long as you have the admin, the billing admin added onto your user privileges. But you can export your existing service authorizations, make any applicable edits and upload them back in. You will still need to go into, that's creating brand new service authorizations, brand new ones. Okay, so you will still need to go back into your old ones and either expire them, changing that end date, or just flat out discontinuing them if you're never going to mess with that information again. But this may help expedite your process if you do choose to do brand new service authorizations. And let me show you kind of what that looks like and how that works. As I'm going to try to give you my, let's see, there we go. Okay. My examples here. All right, so it will bring down this applicable information. It'll keep their program, their site. You're going to need to update, you would end up updating their begin date and end date. The status, you would utilize the applicable drop-down. You can do, put them in prep status. You can put them in pending approval. You can go ahead and do approved. If you do approved and you go upload them in, they're going to be done, the whole batch of them. You can copy things down after you have. So for instance, so I have the state supports right here. I can then copy it down to these other services if need be. Okay. So once you have this first row completed and use the drop down, you can copy over the majority of these fields. You do have to have your other service codes in there already. Your admin side has to be complete, meaning that you have to have your other service description codes in there. You have to have your attendance types updated in order for you to be able to select the applicable information, because here's your attendance type. And this is one option, okay? This is great for your day services, for your daily unit services. This is a really nice option. if you're utilizing the attendance. Now, right now, the limitation with utilizing this import is that we don't have the option for you to attach the ISP program. You can still fill out all of the other applicable information within here, but what I would recommend doing if you were to go with that option is put these in a pending approval status. And then when you go in there, you attach the ISP program, you just hit approve, and they drop off your list. And that just kind of flags them there. But that's that is definitely a nice feature, and it's a more recent feature that's been added to I say recent, probably within the last few months. So it works just fine. We've been utilizing it all across the country. Okay. So if y'all want to get in there and mess with that, just kind of keep in mind that you are not updating or correcting a service authorization when you download that. You are actually creating a brand new service authorization. Okay. But once you import those in, they automatically will appear here. And they'll already be, if you selected them to be approved, they'll already be in approved status. If you selected them to be pending approval, they'll already be in pending approval status. Okay. That's one option. There are guides on the Therap site for the Excel import or upload for service authorizations. If y'all want to pull down that guide, that is there as well. Just one other little point here is that since most of these are new codes, regardless if you do tier levels, regardless if you just do the one overall code and individualize it per person, you do want to go ahead and go into your claim templates and link that new service. Okay. So remember, you don't have to do brand new claim templates. You just have to link that new service onto the claim template itself because it is a new code. Okay. If it's not a new code for whatever reason, you don't have to do a new claim template if they already have that service. But if it's a brand new service or service code for that individual, you do need to go link that code onto their existing claim template. Okay. Questions?
Come on, Iowa team. This is your chance to pick Heather's brain, so please do so.
They know that's a scary thing to do anyway, but they're still more than welcome to do so. And I do want to point out there that even though, there's not a whole lot we can do about the MCO transitions for y'all and what the state of Iowa is doing, but we want to make sure that whatever we can do on our end, we're going to help you through an easy transition. Okay.
Heather, Gina has a question. Authorizations are running a different date. How will we begin an authorization with two different dates, start dates?
You're just going to you're going to end that first one. So if I were to come in here, so this one ended 10/31, okay? But say this one said 12/31. I would come in here and I would say 11/30. And I would do my approve update. So essentially by December 1st, that one will be expired. But what I can do now, I can take that same one and I can copy it for this same individual and then have my start date as December 1st. And that way you don't have two of them going at the same exact time. And in the attendance, it will only show up for somebody that has approved service authorization. So you're not even going to see two names in there. So you would go ahead and have, so if this ended sometime next year, but that's how you're going to end one and start another. So you're not going to have two going on at the same time. You're not going to have two consecutive date spans. So you're not going to have one that says 11/1 to 10/31 and then have a secondary one that says 11/1 through 10/31. You're going to go ahead and end one by doing the end date here. Yeah, the day have one, it's just editing that attendance type. You're really not going to change your formatting as much on the for your attendance type itself. Sorry, I read Gina's question. I was answering it. She was asking how it's going to affect DayHab, because DayHab, it rolls in, it's either the 15-minute increment or it rolls into that daily unit. And that's going to be on your attendance type, whether you want to break that down by the service description or by the, by the tier level. So if you do break it down by tier level, you would have attendance day, tier 1, and you would have your regular DayHab code here, okay? And then you would have your daily code for your tier level there, okay? So you would have it broken down by tier level. You would have the applicable codes on there. Your formatting won't change the way you have them laid out now. It's just a matter of either doing it by tier level or breaking it or having the one overall code. If you do the one overall code and break it down and identify that tier information like the modifier and the rate per individual, then you can keep your one overall attendance code type. So same thing in the attendance. They're not going to have to know which tier level it is. They're still going to go in and they're still going to say DayHab. Okay, it's more along the lines of how you set it up, either on the service authorization and whether you define it out by service level or you individualize it per person. But what your staff is actually going to see on here, they're still going to just see DayHab. So they don't have to make that distinction.
All right, Lori's got a question. Is there any way to have old service description codes hidden when picking from the list of the authorizations?
No, but we're working on that. We're actually working on a way to be able to deactivate those service codes on our side. So something similar to on the claim templates, you have a deactivate button. We're actually working on having a deactivated option on the service description codes themselves. That way they won't show up on the list, but right now, no, we don't.
And Lori says, amazing, thank you.
You're welcome. But that's something that we've actually just recently been discussing. So it'll be a good thing.
What other questions from our Iowa team? Please submit them. Are you guys sure you don't have any more questions for Heather? Gosh, Heather, we got a quiet group today.
Nah, it's only because we're not letting them talk out loud. No, y'all are more than welcome, of course. I've worked with the majority of y'all as well. I will go ahead and put in my contact or my email information in this bottom, the chat box below. If you do need to contact me, if you don't already have my contact information, there it is right there. You're more than welcome to reach out to me, and we can set up an individualized call and go over the changes together if you'd like. Like I said, we really do want to make sure that you have we can try to make this transition as smoothly as we can on our part for you, because I know it's definitely a change for y'all with the other changes that are going on with the MCOs. We want to try to help out in any way we really can. So.
Last call for questions, Iowa user community. Well, Heather, what do you think?
Well, I think if anybody needs anything, they'll let me know. But we did want to make sure that we were able to reach out to people and let them know kind of how we're trying to help out and address the changes. So definitely reach out if you do need anything or if you have any questions over how you're setting it up. Other than that, have a wonderful rest of your day. Hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving.
Likewise. Thanks, everybody, for attending.
Thanks, everyone.